Hi, this is Islip Town Supervisor Angie Carpenter. Welcome to Supervisor Spotlight. We're here in the studio at Long Island MacArthur Airport. And with us today, we have our guest, MaryAnn Pfeifer, who is the Executive Director of YES, which is Youth Enrichment Services, which is a town-wide program that's been in existence for many years. And we're going to learn a lot about it here today with MaryAnn in the studio. So, MaryAnn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
Oh, my pleasure. So anyway, tell us a little bit about how YES got started.
Well, actually, you were there and I wasn't. But the common knowledge is that yourself, prior to being the town supervisor or even an elected official, a big community leader and advocate, got together with a group of other people in the community, such as Diane Munno, Tom Budicavoli, etc., and Doug Chappie, and felt that you needed a youth program.
All right, so I can fill in the blanks.
Needs of West Islip, yes.
So what had happened, there had been a youth program in the hamlet of West Islip for a number of years, and then it disbanded. There were some issues, and for, I would say, a good 5 or 6 years, there was no youth program in West Islip. And at the time, the executive director of the Youth Bureau in the town reached out to me. I was involved as the chamber president and had a business in town, and he knew I knew a lot of people and asked if I would consider pulling together a group because they wanted to reinstitute the youth program. And they had made arrangements with the YMCA, and it was actually prior to the Bayshore, the Greater Bayshore YMCA, but reached out to the county organization and asked that we put together this group. And we had a 2-year contract with the understanding that after the 2-year contract with the YMCA, we would spin off and become our own not-for-profit. And from there on, MaryAnn came on the scene because at the end of the 2 years, the woman who worked for the Y was moving on, and we had to hire an executive director, and we had a search, and MaryAnn was hired. So that was 30 years ago this year.
So here we are today. And today, yes, through the support, obviously, of an active board of directors and a growing staff, we were able to write some grants, and eventually we were designated to serve the entire town of Islip, all 12 school districts, and all of the hamlets, and you might know that number better than I, but it's been very challenging and rewarding to see the growth over the years and where we are today.
And the fact that YES is a town-wide agency, they didn't just tap you on the head and say, here, MaryAnn, you can run all the programs in the town of Islip. I remember very clearly when they did reach out to all of the youth agencies because we had very separate and disparate agencies across the town. There were 5 or 6 different agencies, and the town, in their wisdom at the time, decided that they should be brought under one umbrella. And they had the youth agencies almost compete, write an RFP, if you will, on why your agency should be the one to run the services for the town of Islip. And I remember at the time, our board was concerned. We were so hamlet-focused, just on the hamlet of West Islip. Were we really going to be able to do that? It was a tremendous challenge, and to MaryAnn's credit, you took it and you've kept that sense of community in the various hamlets, but the economies of scale that comes with doing things town-wide and the opportunities for granting dollars is greater because of the fact that we are one town-wide agency.
Yes, it has its certainly it has its benefits, and it's certainly rewarding because even though we have very distinct communities throughout Islip, there are always common themes with young people and families, and all families face certain struggles and need certain services. So in a way, though it may look differently on the surface, it kind of makes for a well-rounded staff, and it's kind of a multicultural, really great opportunity for families and parents to interact with other communities as well. So it kind of brings everybody together. Though we have programs in each hamlet, it's still nice because some programs
overlap,
transcend, right?
And I think that's really important, and we saw that. I remember it very clearly You think about when communities of kids come together, and generally it would be sporting events where they're competing against one another, whether it's a football team, a softball team, whatever. But there we got to beat them, But there aren't necessarily opportunities to come together with a common theme. And having Yes in place, and I'm remembering one or two things in particular, and that was the youth art project that we did for a number of summers, where you brought the kids from the various communities together who didn't really have the opportunity to interact, but come together and do an art project. And they did, a beautiful mural on the South Shore Mall in Bayshore. One year they did art banners, but working together, it was awesome.
Well, that's the opportunity that having a town-wide agency that still operates like a community-based and grassroots is that kids in Brentwood can meet kids from East Islip, kids in Central Islip interacted and do things with kids from West Islip. And one of the big things, as opposed to telling someone to reduce certain feelings of discomfort with people that you may perceive to be different, is actually doing something collaboratively. They talk about that when you do Habitat for Humanity is a really good example of that, which is a larger scale where the kids go down. But I think even at the scale that we do, we had the Clean Streets, and we had kids from other communities come a couple of weekends ago, and we do these kind of town-wide activities and volunteer opportunities. And so it gives the kids an opportunity to meet kids from other areas. And it's a great experience for a kid from Brentwood to connect with a kid from Sayville and realize we're really not that different. We do an anti-bias program with the Islip Anti-Bias Task Force.
Right, the ambassador
program that
which is
you've
great.
been involved with. And that's wonderful because we really have like 9 of our districts involved now: Hauppauge, Sayville, Bayshore, Brentwood, Central Islip, and it's just amazing to see these young people come together and at the end of the year what projects they come up with, and that they really want to bring back to their school districts some good information from what they've learned from other districts and the guest speakers we have. So that's a really strong program, and they meet 4 times a year, so it's not just one day.
They tackle some pretty tough issues, that you would think kids wouldn't have to be dealing with, but they do. And it really prepares them, I think, for the future. Another town-wide program where kids have an opportunity to come together, and Islip was a leader, and that's KICK, the Keep Islip Clean program, part of Keep America Beautiful, and that's been in place over 25 years.
And that's another one that you were very instrumental in starting.
Yeah, that was, a while ago, though. But it's great to see, that these kinds of opportunities exist, because all too often we hear about the negative things that are happening with some of our kids. So I don't think we give enough of a focus to all of the positive things that happen.
Oh, there's so much more.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing. If we had one day of attention that's given to some of the negative things, to the things that are good, and the amount of coverage as we saw in the last few weeks over certain issues, it's amazing that we don't. But here we are to talk about those good things and things we can do to get all of our kids on the same page with being connected to their community, taking leadership. That's really what works most with kids. Is just give them the opportunity. Getting them is the tricky part sometimes.
And the ones you really need to have involved in that kind of activity are the ones sometimes that are hardest to reach. But I know your people do a wonderful job. Your staff are so dedicated. I stopped by that Clean Streets program, and watching the interaction of the staff with the volunteers. And
Applebee's, I want to say that.
Oh, God, yes, Applebee's. They did an incredible job opening up their restaurant that morning, not only just the facility, but all of the meals that they put out there for all of the volunteers, and there were hundreds, literally hundreds of volunteers. But anyway, we want you to stay tuned. We'll be back in a few moments to talk to MaryAnn more about some of the exciting programs that Yes has, especially with the summer coming. Thank you. Hi there. Welcome back to Supervisor Spotlight here at the studio in Long Island MacArthur Airport. Today, as our guest, we have MaryAnn Pfeifer, who is the Executive Director of YES, Youth Enrichment Services. Office is based in West Islip, but you're in various sites across the town of Islip. And, summer's coming, almost here today. A lot of exciting programs for the summer. And, MaryAnn, I want you to share a little bit about the summer program that you have, because it's a problem. Most parents are working, don't have the luxury of being at home with their kids during the day, and when school's not in session, it's a problem. And the Islip Recreation, the summer programs that we have, not only in the town, but the YES program, it is a really wonderful opportunity for parents and really great for their kids.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of programs that go on. We focus in the summer, we have a heavy focus on our younger children, because that's often challenging for parents to get affordable summer programs. And I know that Islip also, it depends on what fits your budget and your time that you need, but we work closely with the recreation department as well. We have, you can have a summer program with extended hours for our commuters, mainly we find, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., that families that work, parents that work in the city take advantage of. We have, and that's at one facility where you can go from 7 to 7.
So stop right there. Think about it. You're working, and what are you going to do? So from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, how do you keep these kids entertained, amused, and happy, and wanting to be there?
It's challenging. I have to say I have the best staff on the island for youth programs. It is difficult. We have our young people. Part of our summer program is if you have a teenager who's eligible to be placed in employment through the Suffolk County Department of Labor, they would come work with us. So it's that teenager involvement. Also,
So what age are we talking about?
Over 14 they have to be, and they can't have turned 21. So we generally, they're 16, 17, 18 years old, and it's really nice. They're kind of the counselors in the program, though we have the professional staff. It's such an opportunity for, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids love high school students, and it's great because it's really role modeling, mentoring, and you don't even realize it. But they do it in shifts. We don't have a young person doesn't work, or anybody work. But that's our longest program day.
So I want to just go back to that opportunity that you have for teenagers, that not only, at say 15 years old, 14, they really can take care of themselves, but there's got to be angst with a parent. I know I can remember when my kids were that age, thinking about leaving them alone, for an extended period of time during the course of a day is really not the healthiest, environment for a student. So now you're giving the parent of that teenager an opportunity to have their child, occupied in a very positive way, giving them an opportunity to learn and grow and have leadership skills,
And we employ about 100 teenagers in these programs, and I know that people don't realize that, but even we'll have a teenager, a parent will call us after things have been filled, and they'll come on as a volunteer, and then the next year they go to the head of the line. It's just an opportunity. Parents like it because they, like you said, not all parents feel a 16-year-old, if they don't get the summer job, should be at home. And it's also a nice way to provide services for all the ages, from 5 years old through. So basically, it's kindergarten through 6th grade, they are the participants. 7th and 8th graders are CITs. So they don't have the same level of responsibility as a teenager or the professional staff, but they assist them. And we get a lot of those students and young people that really love it. The 7th and 8th graders love it because they feel like they're in charge. They're telling us all what to do, but it's great. And then you have the high school kids. And that's just, we have the program in West Islip Community Center. Thank you to the town of Islip. Brentwood West Middle School, thank you to Brentwood School District. At Central Islip this year, it will be at Mulvey Elementary in Central Islip schools, and certainly thank you to all the people at Central Islip who make it happen. And again to the town for Greenbelt Rec out in Holtzville. So even if you're on the eastern end of the town, this will be our 2nd year that we will be hosting a program, so the parents don't have to come all the way in. They may not work
Right.
west, they might work even east. So we try to accommodate that. But the only full day from there is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. is in the West Islip. So please call now. That fills up because of that. But our other programs are 8 to 6 p.m. at Central Islip and Holtzville, which is great for most parents. That accommodates their needs.
Oh, sure, I would imagine so.
And in Brentwood, we do the half day because a lot of times our parents, the children stay with a grandparent or an aunt or uncle, and it gives them a break. And that's only a 5-week program that we do with Brentwood, but it gives the grandparent time to not have the children all day for 10 weeks. So, and they're different things. And they have field trips, just wonderful activities, academics. That's not their favorite part, but we make it fun. It's not like being in school. Recreation, and it is a summer enrichment program. Additionally, we have field trips and events for the teenagers at night. We also have a drop-in program over in Central Islip that the teenagers come in. We have feeding programs. By the way, all of the programs besides the Holtzville program honestly do have a feeding program, and that's just based on some things that we're working out with Island Harvest. But there's actually breakfast and lunch included, even in the West Islip program with Island Harvest. It's just there's some technicalities we have to work out on Greenbelt, but it's still a great program. As well as the teenager drop-in, we have food during the summer for the teenagers at night, because even though and not all the districts are doing the summer feeding programs, because that's been a really good thing for us. And it's great to have the kids in, and there's fruit, and it's healthy, but they actually like it. I mean, we were like, oh, because everything has to be healthy now. So those are the summer programs. There is something from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every night. There are field trips, there are activities, there are volunteer opportunities. So there's no reason that a child any age between 5 and literally 20, as far as working,
Right, exactly.
is not engaged in. And certainly I know the Town of Islip Recreation Program, I will certainly give them a plug. They're doing similar things, and they have their thing going on. So maybe yes isn't the right connect, maybe it's not in the right location, then you can look at recreation or vice
there
versa.
There really is. I mean, there are so many programs, whether it's swimming, golf, there's a camp at Atlantique, theater camp, circus
and it's wonderful,
camp. I mean,
right.
There's so many opportunities going on. When you spoke about field trips, give me an example of some of the field trips the kids have an
Everywhere from
opportunity.
bowling, we make the bowling place where their business, bowling, to we go to the different Jones Beach, we'll have a concert. We do different things low cost. I'm just trying to think, the Children's Museum we go to. We also bring field trips in, because even though Suffolk Transportation, another plug, they really give me my transportation for a great price. I don't want everybody now calling them and asking for the same price. But it is still costly. So there's a new thing that you can get field trips in. So they bring the bouncy houses in. But they also have the History Museum comes on wheels. So it's great. You save some money. We save some money by not transporting the kids to certain venues. So it's a combination, like golf. Most of the stuff we do in the summer, we'll do one play. We'll go to Westbury, or we went recently to the East Islip Theater. Yes, we're trying to keep it in Islip. It's easier in so many ways. So we try to get the kids out to see a production, a professional production, or semi-professional. They're wonderful. So there's Robin Hood we've seen. There's so many different activities and trips that they plan. But again, a lot of it's the bowling, the miniature golf, and we do those in and around when we can. Islip. The Ducks will give us tickets. Sometimes we get Mets tickets.
Yeah.
That would be the older kids.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what we're able to get for free. So if anyone has anything and would like to help us, we frown on movies. The only time they would ever go to a movie is if there's a rain day on the golf or something, and the field trip has to go.
But sounds good. Well, certainly a lot a variety of programs
Yes.
and things for students to do. And the fact that there's a little bit of academics too, because nothing's, they can't close the books in June and then not open until September and still maintain the level of where they were academically. So that's an important component that I think parents especially appreciate. We will be back for our final segment here on Supervisor Spotlight. Again, thank you, MaryAnn, and we'll be back with MaryAnn in just a few moments. Thank you. Welcome back to Supervisor Spotlight. We're in the studios here at Long Island MacArthur Airport, and we thank JVC Broadcasting for being so gracious and allowing us to use their studios. Today we have with us MaryAnn Pfeifer, who's the Executive Director of YES, Youth Enrichment Services, a town-wide youth program that really does wonderful things, and we've heard about some of them so far. One of the things that we didn't touch on, and it's that time of the year, prom season is fast upon us, and there is a prom dress program, a boutique, but this year there was a little added twist, and I'll let MaryAnn tell us what it is.
Well, this year we added tuxedos because they're expensive to rent for our young men, so it's very exciting to do the prom in tuxedos. So hurry on down to the Youth Bureau. We're helping with that, but I do want to give credit to the Youth Bureau for taking the lead.
Yeah, and thank you, Tim. If you're watching, we appreciate your efforts.
401 Main Street.
Yeah.
And yes, Tim has really taken that on. And Maria as his second, his sidekick. But anyway, that's a great program. Just because a lot of times that's the reason young people don't go.
Right.
And they're embarrassed to say. And they're really great gowns. I mean, these are coming from people that live, like we don't live. I mean, really nice stuff. It's amazing what you can get, and it's they're brand new.
Yeah.
So it's
that's
exciting.
really exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. And in fact, I was talking to Tim, and when he talked about the tuxedos, he said very often the girls would come in and they'd have their date with them, and they'd get this beautiful dress, and now he goes, well, what about me? I don't have a tuxedo.
$150, right?
Exactly. So I think he got about 40 plus donations of tuxedos, but they could use more tuxedos. So remember that. And MaryAnn and I were talking offline about it. If you have, your kids grow so fast, so if you have dress clothes, especially suits or, nice dresses, and you want to, you can donate them.
Even children's clothing, and they outgrow them fast.
Yep, they do.
And a lot of parents need them for church. We have a lot of our families that would, their children go to church. They're in suits and things. And
you know what? It's kind of nice for us. I think that as a society, we've gotten away from dressing up, if you will. You see people, kind of more casually dressed than they should be sometimes. So this would give an opportunity to hopefully bring us back to that more genteel kind of way. And I firmly believe that when people are dressed up, they act a little nicer, than if they're dressed down. They're a little bit more casual. And, I think society as a whole, we've really kind of denigrated into just plain old manners have gone by the wayside. People, I see it all of the time, and I don't know if it's because of social media. People are saying things or on social media that they wouldn't say, publicly to someone to their face, and it's really a pity. It's really a pity, and I would love to see us getting back, focusing on that, and it's going to have to be with our kids, There are some really thorny issues out there that we're faced with, that our youth are faced with, and we really have a responsibility to help make it better. And I know you have done an incredible job in that issue of and sometimes it's hard, and we've had this discussion, to quantify the benefits of prevention services, the benefits of what you do, the avoidance of kids going down that wrong path if they didn't have a program like YES to turn to. And you've done a lot with those that may have gone astray and bring them back and try to make something of their lives. There have been programs that you've been involved in the past. YES has done a great job. But the issue of gangs is something that is not new to the town, to the county, to the island and beyond, and is something that we've tried to address in the past. And now it's gotten to the point where others are noticing and, what are we doing? I've got people saying to me, well, what's the town? What's the supervisor doing about gangs, And it starts with the kids, in not having them be ripe for the picking, not having them be the kid that gets recruited. How do you do that? How do you prevent that? And it's programs that build their self-esteem, Talk a little bit about that, MaryAnn.
Well, I think that we all want the quick fix, but it's usually not going to be the case, especially when something as systemic as gangs for certain areas. I think right now, the thing that we look at it, yes, is like a three-prong approach. You always have the policing and the gang task force, but when you're dealing with the community, you have to say, are we meeting the three areas that really impact gangs, both negatively and positively? You have these, you're going to positively impact the reduction of gangs. If you don't, they're going to grow. And the first thing is your first level of prevention. And prevention is, we do Too Good for Violence in the Brentwood Central Islip school. Many school districts are getting it. Too Good for Drugs, because drugs also go hand in hand with gang violence. And those are evidence-based programs. So when you're going to take the time of the school districts to be with their kids during the day, you want to make sure you're doing something evidence-based that has been shown to work. And then you have other programs, work readiness. So those kids that we place into summer jobs go through some workshops, and they really learn work skills. And when you give a young person some self-esteem and they feel prepared, and they feel they can get a job, and that you reconnect them to community. And we talk about disconnected kids. Disconnected kids join gangs, use drugs. They're not bad kids, they're disconnected. We all, if we're not connected to something in our community, in our church, in our home, so these kids, we try to connect to things. So work is a big connector. They want to make money. Sometimes that's why they go towards the gang. Another thing that we do is we provide opportunities for volunteerism, a critical thing in self-worth. We all feel better when we volunteer. A lot of the kids don't know how to reach out. They may be from a different country, and that might not be something they've experienced before. Then you have your intervention piece, and that's where the mental health issues come in for violent kids. There are kids that have mental health issues. We know in society there are people. So the counseling services we offer, that really, we need to get the kids before they, when we begin to see signs. Schools will refer kids, parents will refer kids, and you can really get a handle on things of this young person and what they're experiencing. Again, a young person with mental health issues, struggling in school, not connecting, not feeling, a lot of anxiety. Though again, that's the gateway to not only gangs but drugs, and drugs and gangs go hand in hand as far as what's driving it. So you really need that intervention piece, we call it. And some of that intervention is early probation. Early, the kid's too young to really be put in a facility. The police find him. Maybe he's in family court. So we still have intervention services that we work with Judge Camacho, but we also work with probation on working with those kids in more intensive programming. And then, of course, your third is obviously your rehabilitation. The child might need some substance abuse treatment. They might need some detention. That rehabilitation is also the reentry into your community, and you have to have programs that can sustain these kids, and they can't isolate them from the other kids, and it's a fine line my staff walk with that, and how we re-enter these kids into our other programs. A lot of times, a young person who has leadership skills ends up in a gang, and you want to take that and you want to turn that leadership skill into something positive.
Absolutely.
And they're some of the best, young employees. We can get them Department of Labor jobs, and you would be shocked at how well they do, and that becomes a thing of the past. But it is intensive, hard work. The community has to do it together. It's not something that government can probably solve just by themselves, of arrest and code violation, and those are great ideas, but the reality is we have to connect the kids. We have to connect the kids back to us, our schools, our community, our churches, whatever works. We're a community organization, but if a church works better, a youth group in a church, that's great. And the school districts are, everybody's doing it together. The other very quick thing is you have to connect the kids, and the people working with them, like Pronto, Adelante, yes, should be in that community. And I think we miss the bigger picture. If you just do the prevention piece and you don't have those prevention programs and after-school programs and drop-ins, then you really haven't done anything.
There's no magic bullet. There is no easy fix.
So
you
many
started
things
out by
that
saying that, and everyone pulling together. And it's not just the gangs; it's the drugs, it's the drinking, it's everything. But we're very, very lucky that YES is in place in our town, and thank you for your dedication all of these years, and you're celebrating your 30th anniversary this year. I thank you for listening. I thank you for watching, and thank MaryAnn and her staff of dedicated people who are making a difference. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.